Hi, Phoenix Rising here, and it's almost the end of a decade, right? So we're ending 2019, and I cannot believe, as I was thinking this morning, how far I have come in my life. And it's quite amazing to think about all the things that I have accomplished in the last 10 years. And it's really good right now to sit in those emotions and feelings and kind of look back and remember where I was 10 years ago right now to where I am and who I am today. And of course, since I just lost my father a couple weeks ago, and these are some of the beautiful flowers that we had at his funeral, it just really makes me think about all of the changes that I have made over the last decade. And we've been talking a lot about this in my priestess class. Where have we been in the last 10 years? What have we done? And so much of what I have done has helped me to come to be this more brilliant light in the world. And that's why we're here. We're all here to shift and change. Because as I wrote up on my blackboard, happy holidays to you, but also change is inevitable. It really is. And I could not stop the death of my father, even though we tried and we knew we didn't want to use extreme measures, but I had to walk through that. And now there's a lot of change going on for me and my sisters. And we are having to, take care of our mother. And we thought she would pass away first of cancer. So you just never know what spirit's got in store for you. And I'm finding that out. I have to be in the flow, and I have to, embrace being in the flow. And it's really hard sometimes. And I know that for me, looking back over my life these last 10 years, I have just been going through so much change, and I will continue to go through so much change. And so today I'm challenging you to ask yourself, where have I changed? What have I done differently? And if I have been being pulled or called through my intuition or spirit, why is it that I don't move on that? Why is it that I stay where I am or want to be in that same space? One of the things for me is my ego has been very, very big. And I don't mean ego in the sense of I'm better than anybody else. I don't think that was where I was coming from, although I had some of that too. My ego was around fear, and it was around change. And I do know this about my father, that he did not like change in the sense of tradition, and he loved Christmas. And he loved for things at Christmas to always be the same because that made him feel comfortable. And because at times he was very uncomfortable physically, I think having those traditions, and they are important, they're very important. I need to actually start some new traditions, and I'm going to start a new one around my house about decorating that tree for the birds with the fruit. And we're going to do that. And I would love to have some sort of open house where people can come and share in the memory of my dad. Yet back to my ego, which for me means edging my goddess out, edging goddess out. And I edged her out for a long time. And when I started to shift in my spiritual life, I noticed that things were really out of balance in my life, and I was utilizing a lot more masculine energy instead of utilizing both my feminine and my masculine, because they both have a part. Yet that ego is very, very powerful in my life. And so over the last 10 years, just to kind of give you a glimpse, and I know some of you have watched my videos or seen my YouTube channel, yet I want to go back, and from where I was 10 years ago, so much in my life has dramatically changed. And I am nothing like that woman that I was 10 years ago. And one of them is I left my marriage. I knew my marriage wasn't working anymore. It was a very unhealthy, unhappy place for me. So I left my marriage. I have helped several other women walk through divorces, leave their husbands, figure out their finances. I have been at my most fit in my life, my most muscular, my most toned, and then I've also been at the heaviest weight I've ever been in my life through this last decade. And now I'm at a happy place where I am with my body. And that took time, because as I've gone through this decade, I was seeking the kingdom of heaven. Some of the other things was I am emotionally a different woman. I am so calm and peaceful, and I know what tools I have in my toolbox to help me be that effervescent person that I want to be and be the mother that I want to be. Because before, when my kids were little, I was a wreck. I was a disaster. I lived in drama, and I don't do that anymore. And whatever's going on with my children, I'm able to sit and be present and listen. And not only that, I'm teaching them the tools that I've learned over the last 14 years, actually. But for me, this last decade has been so pivotal. A big piece of why, too, is because I did not know how to embrace my darkness. And we all have it. And I had a big, dark piece to walk through. And Priestess School really helped me to walk through that. But I had already been walking through a lot of it in the previous years up to Priestess School. And if we don't look at our dark side, we cannot shine our light as bright as it's able to be. And so I would hope in the next coming decade that you would really, really look at that darkness in yourself, because it is very powerful when you bring it to the light. And that's what we're meant to do. And on top of that, I feel like now I'm able to really stand in more of my authenticity and be more of that authentic woman that I've been searching to be. So back to my challenge for you, well, first of all, I hope you have a very happy holiday with your family. My holiday is going to look a little different. And yet at the same time, I know that my dad is in a better place. And I also know that spending time with loved ones will be much more precious for me this year, because it is wonderful when we're able to be with those loved ones and be fully present to those loved ones. And in the coming days, maybe you can reflect back on where you've been in your life over the last decade and what you've done in your life. When I started this journey of delving into my spirituality over the last 10 years, I didn't know that I'd become a Reiki healer, that I would become a fire walk instructor, that I would had mediumship abilities, that I would be channeling deceased loved ones, that I'd be able to actually hear my own dad, that I'd actually be oracle channeling, that I'd be in Priestess School, that I would be going to the park as much as I was to get my intuition to be so extremely high, and listening to myself and trusting spirit. And I'm still learning that, because I don't know what's to come for me in the new year. I don't know what my work's going to look like. I don't know who I'm going to be serving or who I'm going to be helping. All I know is that I have to trust where I'm going, because right now I feel like I'm in the void. I'm in between. And so I look forward to helping you in any way I can. I don't know what that will look like again, but I do know that I want to serve and I want to help. And if you're wanting to look deeper into yourself and find your shadow and then find your light, because we can't do spiritual bypass, it doesn't work. And what I've learned over this last decade is it's not all love and light. It really isn't. And that's just a cliche that we like to use to spiritually bypass. And I don't do that anymore. I have to live all of the feelings. I have to be all of it, because that's really what spirit is. It's all of it. And so it's the good, the dark, the bad, the ugly, the yucky, the wonderful, the joy, the sorrow, the life, the death. It's all of it. One of the things I noticed as I was walking out to actually make the decision with my family to let our father go on to the next world, the next realm, was this man walked onto the elevator with a new baby carrier. And I knew in that moment that my dad was going to leave and a new life was beginning. And my mom noticed the same thing the other day. She saw a baby and her husband had just died, and it was beautiful. It's like there's always new life when death occurs. And it's never a death, and when you live this spiritual path and you learn all these things and you read all these books and you talk to all these spiritual people and you do all these musical things that are spiritual, and you just start understanding more and more and more, and it's wonderful, and your consciousness shifts and your awareness shifts. So again, I hope that you will let go and look back at your past decade and say, bye-bye. That was then, and now I'm moving into this, and what are my intentions? And as we have the winter solstice coming in the next 2 days, that you would fully step into your darkness, because once you do that, the light is able to come in even more. And again, I wish you a very happy rest of your December. And I will look forward to connecting with you. I don't know what that will look like in the new year, but I will look forward to connecting with you in 2020. So blessings to you, and peace and joy to you and your families. And I'm signing off, Phoenix Rising.